Hello and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel. My name is Rachel Parker. My pronouns are her, she, her, and hers. And I am the rector of the Anglican Churches of St. Thomas in Wainwright and St. Mary's in Edgerton in southeastern Alberta in the Diocese of Edmonton in the Anglican Church of Canada. I'm glad you're with me today. Today I'm going to tackle something that I think I'll probably get a bit of feedback on, and I won't like it. But I think it's important that I do this anyway. I've had a couple of conversations and been thinking a lot since last Thursday when the Queen died, and lots of things that are popping in my head and bouncing around in my brain around the Queen and colonialism. Before I begin, though, I'd like to say happy anniversary to my parents. It is their 54th wedding anniversary, and today is, in the Christian church, is the Feast of the Holy Cross. So just lots happening today. But first of all, I'd just like to talk a little bit about my understanding and my appreciation for the Queen and how I handle the whole question about her as a representative of colonialism. I'm going to say this first. I am a woman. I am a female priest. I am a wife and I am a stepmother. Those are all parts of who I am. I do not represent all stepmothers everywhere. My stepsons might want to think that I do, but I don't. There are good stepmothers, there are bad stepmothers, there are wicked, evil stepmothers that we hear about in things like Cinderella and stories like that. And there are absolutely fantastic stepmothers out there. Not one person represents them all. I am an Anglican priest who happens to be a woman. I am not the best female priest. I don't think I'm the worst. There are people who believe that I shouldn't be a priest because of my gender, and there are other people who think that there's no problem with that. Okay. I am a wife. I do my best. I fail miserably from time to time, and once in a while I do a good job, but I always try. Who I am as a person cannot indicate anything for the rest of the world. And I would argue that for the Queen as well. I know that she was the most photographed person in history. I know that they say she probably shook at least 750,000 hands, that she met over 70 years with people who were from countries all around the world, countries that were under her rule, under her reign as Commonwealth countries, and countries that were not. Yes, she had an incredible amount of influence, and she was visible and was participating in many, many, many things. But that was not the sum total of who she was. She was a daughter and a sister. She was a mother, a grandmother, a great-grandmother. She was an Anglican, a faithful Christian. She was a woman who believed deeply and who probably had her heart broken many times. She was required to keep a stiff upper lip and not to show emotion even when her parents died, when her sister died, when her daughter-in-law died. Regardless of what she may have been feeling as queen, I imagine her feelings as mother of her son and grandmother of her grandsons was tearing her apart. She presided over decisions and ceremonies, and she did so with grace and dignity. But she was also called to leave her own opinions aside. She was a woman of strength, and she was an intelligent woman. I cannot believe that she didn't have political opinions. And yet, in her reign, in 70 years, she made a point of not coming down on one side or the other of political decisions, something that has been discussed at great length now that King Charles has stated he will step back from that, and he will not be bipartisan. He will not play the parties. He will not be political. He will support his country, his people, his monarchy, his realm. Queen Elizabeth was able to reign with such dignity and grace because of all of the things that made up who she was. There are many people out there now, I'm seeing them on Facebook and have had conversations with people who want to tarnish her memory, who want to throw away her crown, who want to bury her deeply beneath the idea that colonialism was the thing that made her evil or wicked, or even if not that deeply, that strongly bad, but that she did not do something to change it. We might look back and recognize that she did not do anything to change things for groups of people because she did not choose between groups of people. She supported her government. She stood tall for her people. In times of difficult, of the pandemic, in times when the country or the Commonwealth, the United Kingdom, all of these different places were hit by economic hardships, by health hardships, by things like that, the Queen did not come down on one side or other, but she lifted up her people in prayer. She asked that people might bring the best of themselves out, and that they might together find ways in which they could work as a community. The Queen did her best to be apolitical. And there are people who are now trying to politicize her reign. I understand that colonialism was wrong, and that there is much, much damage that needs to be undone, and even more and more layers of it that can never be undone. I understand that. But I struggle to understand why, in the time after the Queen has died, in a time when the rest of the world would acknowledge that her family and those who have loved her, and there are millions around the world who do so, should have time to remember her with great joy, who should have opportunity to celebrate what she was good in. This is a time of mourning. There will be many, many, many moments when the historians can gather together with clear minds and with a clean, unbiased perspective of what history has looked like, and they can determine what her role was, if anything, in the pushing of colonialism. No, she did not try to stop it, but only time will tell, and historians who are true historians will be able to determine what role she may have played in continuing it. But right now, we are called to remember who she was, to mourn her passing, to give our prayers and our encouragement to her son, who has taken on the mantle of the monarchy, who will speak for the kingdom and who will speak to his kingdom and the Commonwealth. As a Christian, as an Anglican who recognizes that the Queen was the head of my church and the King is now the head of the church. As someone who believes in the constitutional monarchy in Canada and recognizes that, well, it is absolutely not perfect. I do believe, and I will continue to argue that it is something that we can work with and not something that will be our downfall. We are seeing right now lots of pundits talking about the failure of the great Republican experiment. I don't want to participate in that. I would rather participate in something that encourages the people to look ahead, to look forward, to recognize the history and the strength of where we have come from, and to carry on the traditions that have allowed us to slow down and to make decisions in a way that has worked well for us. I know there will be people who argue with me about the constitutional monarchy, and we can do that at a later date. But I do believe that the system that we have is good for us in Canada anyway, and I hope that we will continue in that. As the wife of a member of the Canadian Armed Forces, whose boss is the King, I support my husband and all those who pledge their allegiance to the King and the Crown, and who would go to fight a war and give their life for causes that benefit humanity, that might stop the annihilation of others, all because the king and those who are here in his stead ask that of them. I will not dismiss or diminish the work of the monarch or the kingdom or the commonwealth. I cannot. I honor that other people have a different opinion, but I would ask that at this time, especially in this time of mourning, that we would remember not our political differences, but that we would stand up and say, together we are humanity, and together we recognize that a woman who meant a lot to a lot, a woman who strived to live with dignity, a woman who was faithful to her faith, to her Lord Jesus Christ until the end, has died. And she needs to be remembered and honored, and her family needs to be allowed to mourn and to grieve, especially as they have taken on the new mantles of responsibility that her death has brought upon them. I would like to share with you something that I saw on Facebook, and I really do appreciate. It says, if you're not a fan of the monarchy, I respect your opinion, and I will respect you even more if you're able to keep your opinions quiet for the coming days. I have no wish to be associated in any way to anyone unable to show the utmost respect at this time. The Queen was a mother and a grandmother, part of a family. She was human. You don't have to like the monarchy, but respect that someone who was devoted, has devoted their life to this country, has sadly passed away. And that was shared by Jeffrey Stewart O'Hare. Added that to Facebook originally. I am asking that people would be kind to one another, if not because you believed the Queen was good, even if you think that she was the prodigy of evil, even if you think that she was a bastion of colonialism and you can't stand what she stood for, in your opinion. I would ask that you think about the fact that she was a human being. First, last, and always, she lived and she breathed like you and I. And like you and I would hope that we could recognize that in this time of mourning, she should be remembered. Her family should be given space and permission to grieve, and we might be respectful of one another. There will, of course, be time for rhetoric and accusations, but maybe for the next few days, we could just gently uphold one another in prayer, uphold her family, and uphold all those people who look upon her and upon their new king as part of who they are. God rest her soul. May light perpetual shine upon her. May she revel in the glory with all the saints, knowing that she is with Jesus Christ her Lord, and reunited with those whom she loved but saw no longer. And may we, who remember her with grace and dignity, uphold her and support her family and those who go on without her in our prayers. Amen. God bless you. Have a good day.